So today we're going to be talking about bamiyeh or okra, and okra is typically harvested in springtime, early summertime, and I love to talk about the seasonality of our ingredients because we live in a world where we have access to everything all year round and we don't necessarily understand when things come out, when they're harvested, when we're supposed to eat these things, and I love to kind of focus on that element. So we're going to be talking about bamiyeh. It is, I think, maybe an underrated dish, and to be fair, growing up, I actually didn't love bamiyeh or I didn't love okra. I actually loved green beans or fasulia, and I kind of gravitated towards bamiyeh as I grew up. Bamiyeh is a beautiful vegetable, and there are so many different forms to it. So I actually like to use these like chunky little small ones because they have a lot of meat to them. So they're actually an excellent alternative to meat as well. So if you're looking to have something that's kind of hearty that will fill you up, bamiyeh is an excellent alternative because it's got a lot of meat to it, so it will fill you up. And it's got a lot of incredible health benefits for you as well. These ones are amazing. These are actually very common in Palestine that you would find. You would also find them across the Middle East. There are also longer ones, maybe more common in India. But these ones are the ones that we're going to be working with. And I don't know if you guys can see, but because they're a little bit moist, there's like a bit of like this like gunk that's coming off of it. And that's very typical to bamiyeh or to okra and to that texture that you're gonna get. But in this version, it actually complements what you're gonna be eating. And bamiyeh is one of those dishes that you can make as a meat version, but the one that we're gonna be talking about today is actually the vegetarian version, which we like to call Bamiyeh Bil Zait or okra and olive oil. So when we talk about dishes bil zait in Palestine, we actually mean that those are olive oil based dishes and they are purely vegetarian. So they're actually cooked as a vegetarian version. It is not an alteration or a variation to the version that has the meat. And there's no like tomato sauce and stuff. We usually make a lot of like stews with our vegetables. This is not that. This is actually more of kind of like fresh vegetables that are going to be pairing with the okra that will actually complement each other. And then we typically eat it with Arabic bread. So we eat it not with rice, but more as like a dip. So we're going to be adding to the okra a delicious flavor. So we've actually got a mix of different things here. We've got sliced tomatoes. The tomatoes are also going to be releasing flavor into the dish, and of course liquid as well. We've got sliced onions, sliced garlic, and then we've got as well fresh coriander. So the fresh coriander will also really complement the flavor of it. And then in here, we've got a mix of things. So I've mixed it all together, but you're gonna get all of the ingredients, all of the measurements in the recipe. But this is basically a beautiful sauce that goes with this dish. And it's got, of course, olive oil. It's got tomato paste just to kind of thicken up the sauce a little bit for you. It's, of course, got lemon juice because you can't have a dish without lemon juice. It's got ground coriander. So we've got some of the coriander powder to also complement the fresh coriander as well. It's got some salt, of course, and it's got a bit of paprika just to kind of add that extra flavor in there. And of course water just to add a bit more liquid to the ratio because you're going to be putting it in the oven. What I like about this is it's another one pot dish. So you basically you cut up everything, you chop everything up, and then you basically dump it into a pot, into an oven-proof dish. You throw it into the oven and it cooks for about an hour and 15 minutes, and it is ready to go. So it's a beautiful, easy dish that you can kind of make on a weekday, no pressure, no complication to it, and you'll enjoy the incredible flavors. So I'm going to add all of these like beautiful vegetable flavors that I have chopped up, and gonna add it to this dish. And then I'm going to add the sauce. So we're gonna add the sauce elements, and honestly, it already smells delicious without me even putting the sauce. So you can imagine what the flavor is gonna be like. We've got a bit of the tomato paste that is clumped at the bottom, but that's completely fine because you're gonna mix it all up and nothing is gonna happen to it. And then again, it's gonna cook in the oven for a long period of time. Some people like to cook okra on the stove, but in this version, what I love about baking it is that it slowly cooks, so you're not kind of forcing it to cook at a high heat. And with that, it actually removes that kind of gunkiness to the texture of the okra. So you end up having kind of this like slow cooked version of a dish without kind of speeding up the process of cooking it. And it creates an incredible texture. The okra softens up, the sauce thickens up. And what I actually like to do is I like to make this the day before. I put it in the fridge, and then the sauce actually thickens up even more. So I actually like to eat it cold with the bread, and it tastes even better. And it's one of those things that tastes better the next day, you know? So you can make this in advance, you can meal prep this, and it is actually very low maintenance. So I'm gonna put them all, hopefully it'll fit into this dish. So you can see all the sauce is coming through. And it's okay if it piles up because it's going into the oven. And I've actually preheated my oven to about 210, 220. You want it at a slightly higher heat because you want to make sure that everything cooks well. Ooh, we lost a tomato there. And you just basically want to make sure that it cooks really thoroughly. And because it's going into the oven, you want to make sure that everything cooks all the way through. So now it's completely ready. It's all mixed through, everything is good. And I like to encourage you to put it in a bowl before, mix all the flavors together so you can have an even kind of flavoring across the dish. Again, if you mix everything in here, you might have bits and pieces of like clumps of spices. So it's always good to just put everything together in a bowl, mix it through, and then it's good to go. So basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cover this with some foil, put it in the oven for about an hour and a half. Halfway through though, I'm going to remove the foil. So I'm going to show you that process. We're going to remove the foil, just let kind of the liquid dry up a little bit. Make sure that you get a bit of char on that okra as well because the char also adds flavor to it. So cover it, going to put it in the oven, and we'll go to the next step. So I'm just taking it out of the oven so that you can see the color. So this is like halfway through. It's a bit hot. So you can see that it's starting to cook, but it still needs a little bit more. The bamiyeh needs to like kind of just soften up. Everything else needs to soften up. So I'm putting it back into the oven, and I'm also going to be turning the broil on at the top just to kind of let it cook from all angles. So opening the oven back up and back into the oven until it's ready. So the bamiyeh is looking beautiful, and you can see that everything's kind of cooked. If only you could smell the flavors that I am smelling. But it's a beautiful flavor. It's been cooking for a while. You can see that the sauce is kind of thickened up. You can see that there's like a bit of like crispiness on the okra or the bamiyeh on the top. And of course, we're gonna have to pair it with some Arabic bread. And you need some kind of like thick Arabic bread. So this is actually from a Palestinian bakery, but it's got like a thickness to it that allows you to kind of like take a scoop and take a bite. It's obviously super hot right now, so I'm not gonna even attempt to take a bite, but it is a delicious plate, and you can kind of just clean up the border of it, or you can let it cool down a little bit, put it into another bowl, and like I said, you can put it in the fridge and then eat it the next day, and it'll actually kind of thicken up. And I'll just show you one thing, grab my spoon, but just to show you that there's no kind of gunkiness to the texture of the okra. So it hasn't created that kind of like gooiness or gluiness to it because it's got all of the sauce. And you can see also the sauce is kind of like increased because the tomatoes have also released. But it is a beautiful flavor, and honestly, it lasts in the fridge for a few days because there's absolutely nothing in it that will go bad. And you can eat it cold, you can heat it up, you can do whatever you want to it. But it is a very easy midweek dish that you can make, and of course, pair it with some kmash or Arabic bread. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I hope that you get to make bamiyeh because honestly, it is a flavor that I think I regret not growing up eating. But you can never say never. I'm really happy that I now love it, and I now eat it, and I appreciate it. And it's a very easy dish for you guys to make, and it's a beautiful vegetarian representation of Palestinian food. And I love showing vegetarian elements because I feel that we are very well known for our meat and our rice and our chicken and all of these like big lavish dishes, but the vegetarian dishes are equally as delicious. And so this is an opportunity for you to enjoy some Bamiyeh Bil Zait or okra and olive oil, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do.